losing control. I'm seeing red. Watch you rise, watch you fall. Now I'm about to break. Face the pain, no escape. Can you step to this? Face the pain, no escape. Can you step to this? Face the pain. Face the pain, no escape. Can you step to this?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Fixed Fights podcast with Kurt and Ben. It is a beautiful sunny day today. Is it you getting some nice weather out there in KC?
Yeah, dude, it's like the first day of real summer here. I would say it's a nice sunny day out.
Yeah, it's very nice. You never know though. The weather could change in a heartbeat, but as of right now it is bright and sunny.
Yeah.
And as always, there is MMA to talk about. Not a lot going on this coming weekend. We did have some fights last weekend, and we do have some stuff to talk about after we talk about that. So we won't spoil that just yet. Let's talk about the fights that happened this past weekend, though. Start with the UFC side of things. It was UFC Vegas. What was it? 27, I believe, something like that.
They got to get rid of that naming convention.
Do have to get rid of that. Nonetheless, Cody Garbrandt, Rob Font, main event. Rob Font beats Cody Garbrandt in what was his most impressive performance yet. And dude, this little run Rob Font is on is really, really impressive, and he's looking better and better each fight. His last four fights beats Sergio Pettis, now the Bellator 135 champ. Ricky Simone, always tough. Marlon Moraes, very tough. Possibly on a little bit of a downslide, but Cody Garbrandt, former champ. I mean, this is an impressive four fights. Rob Font looks really, really freaking good right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think both of us picked Font, I believe.
Yep, we did.
But, man, I didn't think it was going to be that dominant.
No, not at all.
And I think Garbrandt maybe is a little too – he's, swung too far the other way now. He's, so concerned that he doesn't really know. He's so concerned about being reckless and exchanging. But that's still clearly very much in his DNA, right? I feel like Garbrandt right now is a guy who's fighting against his type, and his type is kind of a bit of a brawler. And I think that's okay. But I think, the way he got knocked out 3 times in a row kind of turned him into way, way less, of an aggressive fighter. And when he is aggressive, it just feels like it's this uncontrolled burst. Not to take anything away from Rob Font, who I think deserves most of the credit here. One of the best jabbing performances we've seen in a long time. Yeah, Kamaru Usman against Jorge Masvidal comes to mind. GSP Koscheck. I'm trying to think of other more recent jabbing performances, but Font put it on him, jabbed his face off.
Yeah, he did. I followed it with some beautiful twos after. He throws that teep to the chin too, almost like a jab. He's just so good straight on, and his pressure was excellent. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing too. You're exactly right. Garbrandt has swung too far in the other direction, and Garbrandt's honestly unwillingness to trade and move forward, just let Rob Font dictate the pace the whole fight. He walked him down the whole fight. Cody would throw big here and there, but I mean, he seemed content just to, just sit there and take it. And the fifth round is kind of weird. The fourth round, if you look at the fourth round, it's almost like Garbrandt took the whole round off. I think the fourth round was he put very little output out. And then the fifth round, he kind of came out, at least for the first half, and made an attempt. You kind of wish you saw that a little bit sooner, but yeah, definitely all the praise has to be heaped on Rob Font. He is getting better and better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the power is still coming along. I think it's not that he's a light hitter per se, but I think he's really hitting his stride in terms of putting together combinations, and that's when his power comes through, because he'll jab your face off 9 times, and on the 10th time he's throwing a 1-2-3-2 or something right behind it that's going to knock your face off. And I feel like his Rob Font's ascension up the rankings has been kind of quiet. No, he's now the number 3 ranked bantamweight. It feels like it kind of came out of nowhere. I know you listed his recent run here, Sergio Pettis, Cody Garbrandt, all these guys, but still it feels like it kind of came out of nowhere, but he's right there knocking on the door of a title shot for sure.
He is, man. It is a shame that not that Aljamain Sterling winning the fight, was the wrong thing, but just the fact of how the fight ended just put such a wrench into this division because, I mean, dude, I was saying to my buddy, so apparently Aljamain had, I believe neck surgery, correct? And he's going to be out until like October or something. Am I correct in saying that?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's a shame because that fight felt like it needed to happen right away, and now you have TJ and Corey Sandhagen about to fight. Rob Font just demolishes Cody Garbrandt, and they're just stuck here, right? Because obviously Rob Font. The sad thing for him is Rob Font is not going to get the title shot next, right? Probably the winner of Corey Sandhagen, TJ is going to whenever, and that's whenever the Aljamain Sterling Petr Yan fight gets booked. So if you look at the rankings, I mean, let me pull up the UFC Bantamweight rankings right now.
It's a real traffic jam at the top. I'll say that much.
Yeah, it is. Okay, I got them up right here. I know the names. I just want to make sure I have the numbers right. So if you look at the rankings, Petr Yan, Aljamain Sterling, that I don't see how that fight doesn't happen next, right? Corey Sandhagen booked up with TJ Dillashaw. Number 3, Rob Font. Number 4, Jose Aldo, going to be fighting Pedro Munoz. 5, Cody Garbrandt, he just beat. Marlon Moraes, just beat. Frankie Edgar, I'm sorry, love my guy Frankie, but fight doesn't make sense. I think you have to look at number 9 and 10 as the possible fights to make for Rob Font. Number 9, Dominic Cruz, which would be an excellent fight. Number 10, Murad Dvalishvili. That's going to be a really, really tough fight to sign on to as the number 3 guy in the division.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all of them, even 9 and 10, like those sound. I mean, I think in play is the loser maybe of Petr Yan and Aljamain Sterling too.
It's just such a long time to sit out, man.
That's true. You have to wait till like January probably of next year.
Right. Exactly.
I guess we could also think about if you give the winner of Sandhagen Dillashaw the title shot, maybe Rob Font gets the loser, but even that feels like a little weird. It feels like he should be fighting somebody coming off a win at least. So I don't know, man. He is in a tough spot, and like I said, it's like he's also in a tough spot for the reason that I said, like he's quietly risen up the ranks. I feel like he's not, unfortunately, not that he's a boring fighter, not that he's a particularly boring guy at all. I don't even think he has a boring story. Like it's kind of interesting that he just came to MMA without any sort of like karate wrestling background. So it's no fault of his own, but I just feel like he's gonna maybe be one of those guys that gets passed over for opportunities because he's not the loudest personality, and he hasn't been involved in like controversial fights. You know what I mean? Like he's just not. I know he was just in a main event, but it just doesn't feel like Rob Font is like the star they want to push necessarily.
Yeah, I agree. It's just we'll see. There's so much fire at the top of this bantamweight division that hopefully it all gets worked out soon. I'm hoping that they can get that Yan Aljo fight going and going quick because there's a lot of fire coming, and I don't know. I honestly say give Rob Font Dominic Cruz. I think that's a fight to make, man. I think that would be a lot of fun. Dom's coming off a win. He's got a big name. Why not? I still wish they did Dominic Cruz versus Jose Aldo, but
would make too much sense.
That's right. Co-main events. Carla Esparza, kind of out of nowhere. I thought this was going to be a really tough fight for her. She usually she gets to like this level and she kind of stumbles and you don't really see her. The funny thing is you don't see her finishing fights. In fact, her last finish was against, drumroll please, Rose Namajunas in the inaugural strawweight title fight. And that was all the way back in 2014. I know. And she comes out here and literally just demolishes Yan Xiaonan, who had been previously unbeaten in the UFC. For my money, dude, I want to see Carla fight Rose next. I think the storyline's there. I think it's a pretty fun class of styles, and as good as Zhang Weili is, I don't. Not that I don't want to see the rematch, but I don't think it's necessarily the right fight to make right now. It wasn't like a 5-round barn burner where it's like, yeah, we need to see that again. Like, she had one title defense prior to that, I believe, and she got knocked out in a minute. Give me Carla versus Rose.
Yeah, I'm all the way with you, man. I like seeing Zhang Weili fight. I like seeing Rose Namajunas fight. I don't need to see them fight again quite yet. Maybe sometime in the future again. But yeah, I'm way more high on this Carla Esparza Rose Namajunas fight just because I feel like it's going to be way more interesting. That's a totally different fight than 2014, right? I should have Rose's record in front of me, but didn't Rose then go back to Invicta after that? Am I right? Or did she stay?
No, she stayed in the UFC. I believe.
Yeah, she stayed in the UFC.
Yeah, right.
Nonetheless, she was 2-1 when she
Right.
fought Esparza. So like the amount of growth she's had, I just think it's a totally different fight on Rose's end. And also, I think Carla Esparza deserves some credit. I haven't seen her fight like that in a minute. Like,
Oh, no.
just totally, like, obviously we've seen her take people down. We've seen her do ground and pound. We've seen her punch, all that shit. But here it was just like kill mode, like double leg at the beginning of both rounds, like right away, right? Straight to like dominant positions, that crucifix. Like, I think she's a different fighter too. She maybe hasn't changed as much as Rose Namajunas has since they first fought, but you know, I think saying Carla Esparza might be the champion at the end of 2021 is not a crazy thing, especially if she.
I agree.
I mean, if she can put her wrestling on Rose and stay out of submission threats on the ground, the groundwork that we just saw from Carla Esparza, I think, is dangerous to anybody at 115.
She's not easy to submit either. She's usually pretty good at holding top position. We'll see. We haven't really seen Rose. I mean, if I'm trying to think back at Rose last couple of Rose's fights, like I feel like it's been all striker, right? So we really haven't seen her in a little while at least fight a grapple heavy person. Am I correct?
I mean, Jessica Andrade to a degree, at least in their first fight, tried to grapple her and had success, obviously, like slamming her.
Obviously. I'm saying someone that's like spamming takedowns, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think you'd have to go back if we're looking at Rose Namajunas' record. You might have to go back to like Paige Van Zandt.
Right, exactly.
So, and that's honestly, we talk about all the time. I think that's part of what makes 115 exciting is that there's not a ton of like prototypical just 155-pound wrestle boxers, right? There's not a ton of just like boring. Not that it's boring to wrestle or anything, but there's not a ton of Carla Esparzas in 115. So, yeah, I think she can test Rose Namajunas' wrestling defense now, all these years later.
Yeah, fun fight to make. I mean, you can even run Joanna and Zhang Weili back.
There we go. See, now
right?
we're talking. That makes sense. That makes way more sense.
Didn't Marina Rodriguez just get booked in a fight as well? Or am I
I think she's fight. I think Dana White said that she's going to face Mackenzie Dern.
Ooh, yeah, see, I mean, there you go.
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, I think I'm looking at the rankings now. We just booked like the top 6 fighters outside of Yan Xiaonan who could maybe fight like Nina Nunes, who just lost Mackenzie Dern. So that division shakes out, I think, pretty easy.
Yeah, it does. I think and then we can talk a little bit of odds and ends about this card. I think the last big story from this card actually happened in the main card opener. Jack Hermansson beating Edmen Shahbazyan, handing Edmen Shahbazyan his second loss in a row. I thought Shahbazyan looked really good in the first round, but once Hermansson figured out a way to get him down, it was much more of the same in the Derek Brunson fight. I mean, he took him down, beat the ever-living shit out of him. There's definitely some strong deficiencies in Edmen Shahbazyan's wrestling and ground game. He is very young as well, but man, all the hype deflated.
Yeah.
Very fast too. Very fast.
Yeah, from 11-0 to 11-2. And I was wrong about him, man. I thought, he's learned his lesson from that Derek Brunson fight. He's going to like either conserve more in the first round or like be more diligent about getting back to his feet. And I don't doubt that he tried to fill those gaps, but clearly something went wrong. And that's not to take anything away from Jack Hermansson, but in many respects, I feel like this was a really good fight for Shahbazyan because Hermansson has like chin issues, right? He can be put away. Yes. I mean, I don't know how many times Jack Hermansson has been finished, but he has 6 losses. I know Jared Cannonier finished him. Thiago Santos finished him. Cesar Ferreira finished him with a submission nonetheless. So my point is that this was like a high level opponent that Shahbazyan, at least on paper, could have like put away with his finishing abilities, and he didn't. And then we kind of saw the same thing again. It's like if he can't get the finish in the first round, what's next? I'm sure some people are going to call for him to change camps because he's training with the Edmen, but I don't know. I don't see that happening, right? Those guys are like ruthlessly loyal to Tarverdian.
Listen, nobody can teach head movement like Edmen Shahbazyan. So,
dude, he just needs some fucking wrestling. Like that's really what he needed in this fight. He's clearly like talented and crazy athletic and has tons of potential, but if he takes 3 losses in a row, like,
I don't know if he wants to wait this long. Probably not, but a Kevin Holland fight could be very interesting. 2 guys who had a lot of hype and a lot of momentum that had derailed in very similar fashion. Don't think there'd be a lot of takedowns in that fight.
Yeah, probably not. However, I will say, did you see Kevin Holland training at AKA with Daniel Cormier and Darrion Caldwell now?
Good. Smart, man. Smart.
I mean, obviously it takes a while to really shore up his wrestling deficiencies, but
these guys have shown in their last 2 fights that they have very, very little going and get up from the bottom. Not a lot of urgency from either of them.
I think it was really the get up for both of them. Shahbazyan's obviously fresher in my mind, but I feel like there was a ton of spots where he's like kind of doing the like white belt exploding into the top guy, like just totally, it's 2021 in MMA and there's like very clear ways to get back to your feet. And I feel like Shahbazyan just wasn't going through with that.
No, and a guy like Jack Hermanson, who's very savvy on the ground, is not going to fall for those little, rudimentary tricks, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Anybody else on this card you want to give a shout out to? It's a pretty fun card, top to bottom.
Let me see. Dude, shout out to Court McGee. All these years, like I always love watching him fight. I always tell everybody I know when I'm watching him fight that guy was at one time pronounced dead. So it's kind of cool to see him. Like we're gonna talk about tough a little bit later. What was he? Man. What was he? Tough 8?
Something like that. Man.
I can't remember. Another Ultimate Fighter winner, I believe. So credit to him. Also, obviously, shout out to Big Ben Rothwell doing the thing for the Jiggly Boys against it.
Big Ben Rothwell did do it big, man. That was a fun fight while it lasted. Chris Barnett is a fun fighter, and Ben Rothwell, classic passion, walking down, finish him with that weird 10-finger guillotine.
Yeah. Chris Barnett, though, I'm a little afraid the UFC is not going to appreciate him. I could see Dana White being like, this guy's a joke. He doesn't like try. It's like, well, you don't let him show his personality at all. But
he also took the fight on very short notice. And Ben Rothwell's no pushover, man. Ben, that's a very experienced dude.
Yeah, for sure.
Ricardo Ramos Billagio was a fun fight too. Ricardo Ramos, featherweight, looks like he could be a stud.
Also, sorry, we skipped over it, I guess. I was so wrong about Norma Dumont. I thought Felicia Spencer was just going to beat the shit out of her, and she got boxed up. Norma Dumont, man, she was going to fight just 2 weeks ago. She was scheduled to fight Erin Blanchfield at 135, and I'm glad that happened because she might have done the same thing or worse to Erin Blanchfield, who's like my favorite prospect in all of MMA right now.
Yeah, she got something booked again soon, though, doesn't she?
She has a debut. Erin Blanchfield has a debut booked against. Blanking on her name, but she's 0-1 in the UFC, and this fight is at 125, so it should be like a Blanchfield ass whooping out. Yes, we'll talk about that when it happens, but legit, mark my words, she is the best American prospect, man or woman, in all of MMA.
She is very good. I don't know if I co-signed that, but she is very good.
I mean, there's like how many fucking super accomplished wrestlers join MMA every year, and they're all really good prospects for sure. But listen to me, Erin Blanchfield, EBI champion, really good striking at a pretty shallow division. Yeah. I think she is the realest of real deals, and I think she'll be fighting for a UFC title in like under 2.5-3 years.
Okay, respect. I see it. I still side with Gary Tonin, but man.
That's true.
In ONE FC, you don't get to see him too much. He's not fighting all that frequently either. So,
And I feel like you can't give him the prospect tag because his still you probably can, but I think his next fight is probably going to be for one title.
I think so, yeah.
Then he loses that tag.
Right. Yeah, true.
Maybe Buchecha, if he can
Buchecha, yeah.
Stay on the gear for as long as he's in one.
We shall see. So the night before, Cris Cyborg, Bellator 259, defends her title against Leslie Smith. And I saw a lot of people saying that this was kind of an underwhelming performance for Cyborg. They saw her slowing down. I thought the complete opposite, man. I thought it was a very patient and measured performance. I thought she still had the burst. I mean, dude, Leslie Smith is just extremely tough to put away. I mean, that's one thing you say for Leslie Smith in her career. She's very tough. She's hard to put away. And, I mean, dude, Cyborg, I thought, kept up the same pace for all 5 rounds. She ragged out Leslie Smith when she had to, and then she puts her away at the end of the 5th round, man. I don't know if people are just looking to discredit Cyborg for some reason, but I thought she looked fucking awesome.
So I watched this on like the next day. So I didn't see the online chatter about it so much. I would guess people are saying that just because the first time they fought, she put Leslie Smith away like really quick. But I agree with you. I feel like Cyborg slowly put her foot on the gas more and more and more. And she was like, she knocked her down in the first round. She knocked her down in the second. Like she beat the shit out of her. What more do people want? I think what you saw in Cris Cyborg there is a woman that had learned her lesson from that Amanda Nunes fight and learned that, hey, I'm not going to be able to just like hammer through every single person if I go really heavy in the first round, right? But she's still like, yeah, I don't get any criticism of Cyborg there because this is Leslie Smith up at 145. So Leslie Smith has already a pretty good chin just for a bantamweight. She's going to have an even better chin at 145. She's super tough. And obviously Cyborg was like a massive favorite, but I didn't see underwhelming. Like I just saw somebody who was like kicking the shit out of Leslie Smith for 24 minutes and 51 seconds, basically.
Yeah, I thought she looked extremely impressive. As she always does, man. And it's crazy too. Like, you know, she had that stumble against Amanda Nunes, very well documented. It's a shame that they did not run that one back. But dude, if you look at Cyborg's career, I mean, she has literally been at the top of women's MMA since what, 2008, 2009? It's like an insane run, and you know she's fought everybody that's been put in front of her. Obviously, that division is not as stacked as some of the other divisions in MMA. But dude, I would go on record and say Cyborg is probably going to go down as one of the top 10 best fighters in MMA history. Period. She is that damn good. Her reign has been that impressive. I mean, dude, her finishing rate has got to be like an insanely high number. You know, decisions are very few and far between with Cris Cyborg.
Yeah. I would also say, just record aside, like, I think she deserves a little, like, I think when we talk about pioneers of women's MMA, I think we naturally, and I think it's fair to think of Ronda Rousey, right? But before Rousey, man, like, you and I were fans when Cyborg fought Gina Carano, right? That was a huge fucking deal.
That was like the, you know, arguably the biggest women's fight ever. That fight was huge.
And that was that on Showtime or was it on CBS even?
I believe it was on Showtime.
It was just, that was a massive event that showed that women, like, that was undeniably probably the biggest fight of that month or half year even in MMA. Like, right. I think the fact that Cris Cyborg was a part of that, even if she like loses her next 4 fights in a row or some shit, even if she has a terrible end to her career, which I don't see happening at all, by the way, I think you can't take away like the impact she's had on the sport, which I think is just as big, if not bigger than Rousey's, right?
Yeah. I agree. Yeah. I mean, you just said it right. Before Rousey, there was Cyborg. After Rousey, there's Cyborg, right? Like she is so damn good, man. And
they never fought. Man, that's a shit.
Let me ask you this before we get off this. Obviously, I think Kayla Harrison, I think her time is nearing the end in PFL. I think after this next tournament she's going to run through. In 5 months, let's say, I don't know, 6 months, whatever, who would you pick in a fight, Cris Cyborg or Kayla Harrison?
Probably Cyborg.
Yeah.
Because she's fought, like, even Kayla Harrison might have the athletic and skills and ability, like that might be there. Maybe her striking is really coming along, but who is Kayla Harrison had shared the cage with.
Exactly.
Is the question. Like you said it, like fucking Cyborg's been there and seen that everything. So yeah, I would pick Cyborg unless she like falls. Unless Cyborg fights Kat Zingano next and she looks terrible for some reason or something like that. But
I don't think
no
so.
yeah, she looks fucking incredible right now. Still.
And I mean that's the fight to make too, right? I think the Kat Zingano call out was right. Kat Zingano's won 2 or 3 fights in Bellator. Let's see that fight. It's a big name for Cyborg's resume. I don't know how much Kat has left in the tank to challenge Cyborg with, but I think it's the fight to make.
Yeah.
Co-main event. Leandro Higo gets some revenge on Darrion Caldwell, beating him by decision. Fun fight. Man, I got to question some of the ring IQ on Darrion Caldwell there. I thought, I don't know. I think he kind of let that one slip away, varying off some of the game plan. And I mean, props to Higo for taking advantage of it.
Yeah, I was mostly disappointed. I don't want to take anything away from Higo here because he did what he needed to do and on the ground, like took advantage of some positions. But I feel like Darrion Caldwell, man, he almost got in the same fucking neck crank position right from the jump. Did you notice that? Like,
he did.
Like Leandro Higo had that like 100% neck crank or whatever on him, like, or it was available to him, I should say, like right from the jump. And then I feel like later in the fight, Caldwell was inside Higo's guard and just was not working enough. Like, I feel like Caldwell, he does have, some decent submission wins on his career, on his record rather, but I feel like he's a wrestler that could have really been a lot better if he like dedicated himself to learning some jujitsu, to pass the guard, just to get on somebody's back, shit like that. I think that would help him a ton because obviously his takedown game is there, but when he gets on top, it was like, he was losing rounds from top position here.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Moving down on the card, Austin Vanderford gets a big win over Fabian Edwards. Still undefeated. I really think he is very, very good, man. His grappling, his cardio, his stand-ups coming along. I mean, that's a tall test to have him fight Gegard Mousasi next, but and I know Mousasi is booked up. I believe they announced that fight, or he's going to be fighting. Name is slipping me right now, but
fighting. I'm looking at these rankings. John Salter.
Oh no. Who's ranked after John Salter?
Austin Vanderford now, but Anatoly Tokov.
I believe he is fighting him next, Tokov. Okay. But I honestly think Vanderford should fight the winner.
Yeah, his striking I feel like is still a little there, but I definitely think he could take down Gegard Mousasi, and I'm with you that his cardio, like he's a guy who doesn't have a ton of miles on him, so I think he's going to be like, even if his skills aren't quite where his athleticism is yet, he's still a fucking handful for any champion.
I guess the last one for Bellator we got to talk about, how much does Valerie Loreda's stock fall after this? I mean, obviously, like, she does her thing online, right? I got no problem with it. That's her brand, but obvious flaws in her actual in the cage game.
Yeah, I don't know how much because it's not like her stock was necessarily tied to her being this unstoppable, like, monster of a fighter, but it was. Her coach even said in between rounds 2 and 3, your groundwork is atrocious. Her coach told her that.
Stop spitting shit. Like, yeah.
She looked like a fighter who had only had 3 pro fights in her career, but This does make me, I don't know. I don't want to like write her off yet, but you kind of saw, you can tell a lot of times early in a fighter's career when the shit gets really tough, like, what are they doing? Like, she didn't quit, right? She didn't tap, even though her arm looked super broken. But I feel like she faced somebody in Hannah Guy who's a way, way, way worse athlete, but just knows how to grapple a little bit and just didn't quit and took it to her. So at least for me, her stock takes quite a hit, right? I'm not super high on Valerie Loureda until she can prove to me that she can defend a takedown and like actually get back to her feet. But in terms of her actually like marketability, like I don't think her being undefeated is crucial to her marketing.
True. I could agree with that. A couple guys on the undercard that performed really well. Aviv Ghazali still undefeated. Kid's a stud. Danny Sabatello. Yes. Sorry. No, I was gonna say Danny Sabatello ruins Brett Johns. Bellator debut. Maybe they're on to something, putting him on that very low on the prelims. Alexander Shabili is also a fun addition to the lightweight division. Got to keep your eye on.
Yeah, I thought this was a decent card. Outside of, the main card kind of dragged a little bit with all the decisions, but yeah, Aviv Ghazali, I still can't. I think he's pretty legit with all those like super fast submissions, but yeah, for me, one of the bigger stories of the card was the Sabatello win, because I think at least I expected Brett Johns to like immediately make waves in the division.
Yeah, I did too.
So to see him pretty clearly get beat by Sabatello was a bit of a surprise.
Here's an interesting little tidbit out of Bellator. MVP came out and said he would like to fight in the UFC. I don't think he's like asking for his release or anything, but I think he's saying before it's all said and done, he would like to fight in the UFC. I mean, here's the thing about the UFC. Like, UFC is not going to pad records, especially if this guy's coming over with, all this sort of hype. They are never too kind with Bellator fighters coming over, right? We've seen it with Eddie Alvarez, Michael Chandler, all these guys that come over. They give them studs right off the rip. I'm down for it, man. I think I don't know. Maybe he's feeling that the Bellator thing has run its course, but
dude, I'm glad you brought this up because I have two thoughts on this.
Sure.
And I know we always shit on MVP in this show, so we're gonna continue, I guess. One, what an ingracious, like, how is he? Bellator has given this guy way more credit and attention and notoriety than he probably deserves.
Always.
Right?
Always.
Through their matchmaking, through like building up opponents that are stylistically like in his favor, all this shit. How dare he? Like, if I were Scott Coker, I'd be like,
I know.
Like, I'm trying to think of the perfect GIF that I would post and respond to that, but like, here's this guy who's like made you kind of a promotional poster boy. And then here he is talking about like, oh, by the way, I'm still under contract with Bellator. I'm not leaving anytime soon, but I would like to fight in the UFC.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Also, my second thought, when I read that, I like immediately thought, all right, like, let's imagine if he does go over to the UFC, like who could he fight? And if you just look at like the lower part of the UFC top 15 rankings, like, let's imagine he fought Sean Brady in the UFC. I think Sean Brady beats him. If he fights Bilal Muhammad, I think Bilal Muhammad beats it. Like,
I agree.
I mean, yeah, it would be nice, but he's like, what, 34 years old? Like, I would kind of like to see him in the UFC just to get fucking.
I mean, he's going to fight somebody good, right? Like, so we're going to see whether he's good or not, you know? I feel like that's the big question that's been annoying the fans like us for his whole run in Bellator, right?
I mean, it would almost be perfect just to see him fight somebody like Neil Magny, who's like not a killer, not like some like wrestler even, but I still think Neil Magny would like jab his face off, clinch him against the cage, knee him in the body a whole bunch. Like, I don't think MVP has it. I know we sound like a broken record a bit, but sure, man, go to the UFC at the end of your career and it's going to look like, I don't know, worse than whatever Hector Lombard did when he went to the UFC.
True. Very true. Yeah. Oh, dude, we forgot to mention too before we jump off topics. Paul Felder retiring. Man, props to Paul Felder. Dude had an awesome career. Obviously, never won a title, but consistently in that, right around that top, 5-10 range. A lot of fun fights. Alan Jouban also retires too. Another guy just with a very respectable career. So props to both of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul Felder, man, has a win over the best current active lightweight, so he can tip his cap on that. So,
finished him too.
Yeah, stud. And I think both of those will stick because they both have like jobs, right? Like they're both on TV and shit. I don't see them going back.
I don't think so either.
Who is going to go back though and probably embarrass himself? Dan Hardy.
Dan Hardy is going to go back, man. I mean, before you know, he might be fighting Diego Sanchez over there in bare knuckle fighting.
Yeah.
I mean, I also heard that Diego Sanchez and Joshua Fabia have ended their professional relationship. Fabia's been going nuts about it with whoever would talk to. I don't fucking know.
Apparently, we had it wrong. It was Diego Sanchez actually taking advantage of Joshua Fabia the whole time with his no money. Like, Fabia makes no sense complaining that Diego Sanchez has no money, and that's how he's taking advantage of him. Like, okay, buddy. Like,
I know. It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. There is no MMA this weekend. There's no PFL. There's no Bellator. There is no UFC. But June 1st, this coming Tuesday, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it is Tuesday. Yes, it is Tuesday. Ultimate Fighter is back for their
Wednesday.
I'm not even exaggerating this. This is like their 29th season or something crazy like that?
29, yeah.
29. Their 29th season. So I figured we'd take a little bit of time to talk about this upcoming season. Let me see if I can pull up a roster. It is going to be coached by, obviously, Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega. They will after be fighting for the UFC featherweight title. This is the first Ultimate Fighter since 2018. I mean, dude, in all honesty, what is your either expectations or your excitement level for the Ultimate Fighter coming back?
Low and low. Like, expectations and excitement are both low because from everything I've seen, this is not like a reboot. It's the same show. Like, they're not changing anything. I think I could be wrong, but it's the same. We got coaches that are going to fight each other at the end. We got a cast of relatively unknown guys that if they were really, really good, they'd be signed directly with the UFC or at least Dana White's Contender Series. Not to take anything away from these guys. And many of them often turn out to be really good fighters, right? I mean, fucking Kamaru Usman was on The Ultimate Fighter. Robert Whittaker,
True.
Tony Ferguson, all these guys. Like, it produces good fighters, but man, I'm not super excited. And I don't want to take anything away from these guys, but even looking at the rankings or at the cast rather, I don't cover regional MMA heavy, but there's very few names on here I recognize. I don't know. I'm just not super excited. If there was some sort of like national champion wrestler on this show or BJJ, world champion, something like that, I would be more excited, but I don't know. I'm not super excited to answer your question.
I'm the same way, and I've done a little homework on some of these guys. I know a couple of them just from like you said, like the regional scene, or I don't know, just catching them somewhere. And yeah, with the Contender Series, man, it just seems like unnecessary, right? Like the Contender Series is basically tough minus the drama. I guess they're hoping that being on ESPN, it's going to be, I believe, streamed exclusively on ESPN Plus. They're going to be able to maybe drive some sort of, uptick in fan interest. But here's the thing, like I started following MMA like right before the Ultimate Fighter 1, so like 2004, 2005-ish. And obviously, like when that shit first hit, that it was awesome, right? You got to see like the look, into the fighters' lives. You got to see the fights. You got to see some drama, and that was all cool. But by like, I don't know, like the 10th season, it was just dry, right? The content was stale, and I can't even tell you. We were kind of talking about this before we went on, but I can't even tell you like the last Ultimate Fighter I really like sat down, was excited for, and watched.
Yeah, same. I think for me, it was probably season 10 was the last one where I was like, I'm gonna watch this every night or whatever. That was if I have it correctly, Wikipedia's that was the Quentin Jackson Rashad Evans one.
Yep. Kimbo Slice and everything.
And that feels like, so if we talk about like things that spiced up the Ultimate Fighter to make us kind of want to watch, that was one, right? They brought up Kimbo Slice.
Right, yeah, true.
But then since then, right, they did the live season. That was kind of a different.
I watched that one. That one was pretty cool.
And that one, I think, produced some of the best talent.
It did,
like,
yes.
period. But yeah, then you look at all these other seasons. I mean, man, like I had no idea Brad Katona won the Ultimate Fighter when he did it. I had no idea Andrew Sanchez won the Ultimate Fighter. I'm looking at these lists, like I guess Ryan Hall got me a little excited, but I didn't watch that season. They got to spice it up a little bit. I don't want to shit on the show too much, but yeah, I'm with you. It's like how many new fans are they actually bringing in here that want to sit through 45 minutes of guys like jizzing in each other's sushi just to watch one fight?
No, right? Getting drunk and fight. I don't know, man. It just seems like a dated model that didn't really need to come back. And we were kind of talking about it when it was first announced. Like, here's the thing: we were already supposed to have this Alexander Volkanovski Brian Ortega fight, and now you're just pushing it back so much further to have them coach the tough. I mean, neither of these guys. That's the thing too. Like, neither of these guys are big shit talkers, right? So it's not like you put like a Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington, where it's like, all right, like these guys are going to be talking shit. They might fight on set. Like, the fight's awesome. The fight's going to be awesome, but Brian Ortega and Alexander Volkanovski probably aren't the most interesting guys on camera for tough, right?
Yeah, and I think, like, look at the last season before this was Whitaker Gastelum, and that's like exactly. I saw bits and parts of that, and I think most fans did not like that season because those guys are just, they're not gonna like be in each other's face. They're not gonna. Like, it's just, you give me the drama. Like, I'm not above watching reality shows at all. Fuck, I love some of them. Like, I love the drama sometimes if it's like well produced. And the editors have an eye for like what's funny, right? You can't take yourself too seriously. I think sometimes The Ultimate Fighter as a show takes itself too seriously, right? With these guys are like going into battle, everything's so serious. Like, the show could be good, and I'm, like I said, I'm not above watching a reality show at all. Like, this shit could be good, but at least the last time I watched it, I was underwhelmed. And yeah, I think if anything, the more I get to know about Alexander Volkanovski and Brian Ortega, my opinion can only go down. Like, what if I tune into this show, I already like these guys, and it turns out one of them is secretly an asshole? Like,
yeah, true.
You know, I don't want that in my life.
True. Yeah, dude, I don't know. And again, like, yeah, maybe like they took 2 years off. They could have tried to rebrand and like do something different. I don't know what it could be, but do something different. But yeah, if they're bringing back the same cookie cutter Ultimate Fighter, I will probably watch, honestly, just because. But again, like, if it's the same thing, like, yeah, I might watch this season. But then if we're going 3-4 years down the road, like, the ratings are going to go down again. I mean, dude, the tough ratings, right? They were like terrible before, they took that hiatus, right? Like, It seemed like it was the thing you should have taken behind the shed and taken the shotgun out and put it behind its misery, or put it out of its misery, I should say.
Yeah. Well, so let me ask you this: if you look at the season 29 roster, are there any names that, like, I see a lot of 5-0. I mean, there are some names. Ricky Turcios is a name I recognize. He might have been on Contender Series. I think Vince Murdoch was on Contender Series.
It's Raposo is a New England guy. Seen him fight a bunch. Very good. I've actually trained with Dustin Lampros before. He's very good. Joshua Reddinghouse is solid. Cameron Lasanov is another New England guy that's very good. I mean, yeah, there's some good names on here. Aaron Phillips is solid, but like, I feel like if you had that guy, like, I don't know who it could have been, but like if you pulled in a well-known name to throw in this, it's like, all right, now we have a little bit more excitement, right?
Yeah, just I mean, I don't make the show, but anything different than what looks like the same, which is two kind of not super exciting coaches, a bunch of names that none of us recognize in the same form. They're going to fight each other. There's going to be a bizarre coaches challenge. These guys are going to play fucking ping pong in a pool or something. And that's it. And Dana White gives out a stack of bills.
That's it.
Yeah. Rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat, man. Yeah, I don't know. Don't mean to be a Debbie Downer on it, but if we're being honest, yeah, it's not that excited. The excitement level is not too high.
Well, man, I do intend to watch it at least this season, especially because over the past like few years, I've grown to enjoy some reality TV. So like I said, I can find entertainment in it. I think I'm going to be able to find entertainment in it. Hopefully, be able to bring some takes to the show. But I could also see myself watching 2 episodes and being like, you know what, fuck this. I'm just going to catch the results.
Yeah.
I don't really care.
Right. Or just fast forward through all the bullshit and wants to fight. It's like, I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, whatever the case may be, it does begin on Tuesday. You know what, dude? Honestly, man, I have a couple fans that like, a couple friends from like work and stuff that are, I would say, casual fans, right? And they're actually pretty pumped about this. So maybe they're gonna catch the eye of the casual fan. But I don't know. And again, it's like there's just so much MMA to take in now with PFL, with Bellator, with UFC. If you're following some of these other organizations, and now you're adding another thing, the Ultimate Fighter, where you have to follow it week after week after week. Yeah, it's a lot, man. It's a lot.
I mean, when it kicked off in 2005, it was just kind of a big deal to even have a single MMA fight on cable.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like that was a big part of the draw. I think I was an MMA fan when it went out, but I thought I thought I was too cool for reality shows when the Ultimate Fighter happened. So I didn't watch it, but I feel like a big part of the initial draw was just there's not very much MMA to consume.
Well, it was new, yeah,
brand new. Whereas now everybody knows what this sport looks like, and unless you're bringing in a name that people recognize, like more and like that season 10 we're talking about with the heavyweights and Kimbo Slice. Not only Kimbo Slice, but they had all these guys that had at least played in the NFL. Roy Nelson. Yeah. There was just so much more draw. Whereas here, it's like, what are these middleweights and bantamweights? And it's like, it's just back to the same. So who knows?
I know. We shall see. If you are excited for it, Tuesday night, ESPN. Let me see I don't even know what time it starts. Honestly, I would say like 8, maybe 10.
Is it June 2nd? That's a Wednesday, by the way.
No, it's June 1st.
Okay, that's
June 1st, Tuesday night. I don't know when it starts, but it is happening.
I'm gonna try to watch it. I'll try to like psychoanalyze these guys like mommy and daddy issues and shit, and hopefully that'll be my insight. Is like, actually, this guy is a fighter because he's like working through his past traumas or something. That's the only takeaway I can have from it.
Whatever, man. You got anything else, dude? I think we kind of covered everything. It's kind of a quiet week, honestly, this week.
We should. There's we could quickly talk about Gordon Ryan announcing his retirement, which I think you and I both agree. There's a reason he called it an indefinite leave of absence from grappling, and I think that's because he just is frustrated and wants to get his health issues under control. And I think Gordon Ryan, within a year, is going to be grappling again.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, he's kind of beating everybody right now, and I think this is the perfect time for him to get his health under control because that is a real thing. But yeah, I don't imagine he's going to be out for too long. He is still going to be talking a lot of shit online. I do, however, believe that this may possibly put to bed any ideas of him fighting MMA. I figure he'll be off the mats for maybe about a year and, let the crop of talent start to build itself up. And when he sees the time and the right challenge, I think he'll step back in.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't see him missing the ADCCs next year.
Yeah, agreed. He might just take time off until that and then come back. Truly.
So, but there is a jiu-jitsu event on Friday, nonetheless. Luis Ponza and Jones. I'm a little sad about that because I really like Ponza, but who knows?
I'll be interested to see if he could. I think he'll actually do pretty well against Craig Jones, honestly.
He's big. He's got size. But man, he just hasn't. I can't remember the last time he like beat a legitimate guy in Nogi was like 2016 when he won his world championship.
Been a little while. It'll be interesting. I mean, dude, Who's Number One is putting on some really, really good shows for jiu-jitsu, for wrestling. They're doing some good things over there on Flow.
Yeah, no, I'm totally a fan, and there are some other like really fun matches on that. Wagner Hocha and Josh Hinger, Mikey Musumichi in Nogi again. There's some really good matches. So if you guys are into jiu-jitsu grappling at all, I think that's a worthwhile evening.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. All right, man. I think we got it all. Thank you as always for listening. We appreciate the support. Follow us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you ingest these podcasts. I can't say enjoy the fights this weekend because there is none, but enjoy the Ultimate Fighter on Tuesday.
No escape, can you step to this? Face the pain, ripping me to pieces.